In this quick and easy video, my dear sewing friends, we're going to be making bread bags. Now personally, I am not much of a bread baker, but I do have quite a lot of people in my life that do bake their own bread, so I'm making these for them. This bread bag is made entirely on a sewing machine and doesn't feature a single raw edge. So we're going to be working with French seams. I'll show you step by step what to do, and you will have a beautiful bread bag that is going to last you forever. The final measurement of this bread bag will be 15 inches by 13 inches, but of course you can make any size that you would like. Let's start with fabric. It's a really important point. And with anything that has to do with kitchen, I like to go for 3 types of fabric. It's either pure cotton, cotton linen blend, or pure linen. This right over here is cotton linen blend. And at first I'm going to give it a really good press. After that, we're going to cut a rectangle that's about 34 inches by 15 inches wide or 38 centimeters by 86 centimeters. You can cut on a straight grain or you can cut on a cross grain, but when you're done, this is what you're going to have. Next, we're going to start by pressing the short ends. First, we're going to press ½ inch towards the wrong side of the fabric. Now my fabric doesn't have a distinct right or wrong side, so I realize it might be hard to see. So let's say your fabric does, like this one. Here's the right side, here's the wrong side. You would be pressing the top like this, towards the wrong side. Now we're going to press it one more time in the same direction, this time by 1 inch. This is going to become the casing for our drawstrings. Now on the bottom, we're going to do exactly the same steps. Once the top edges have been folded and pressed, we're going to bring them together like so, wrong sides facing. Now on the right side, we are going to measure down about 6 centimeters or about 2.5 inches. Once you have that, go ahead and place a pin. You can also use a marker or a piece of chalk to mark that point. Now we're going to work on the side seams. First, for that, we need to unfold the tops and bring them together like so. Once again, the pattern pieces are wrong sides together. So if you did have a printed fabric, like this one, the pretty side would be on the outside. So we're placing it wrong sides together, and first we're sewing from top to bottom with a straight stitch. This seam allowance here is going to be about 1/4 inch, and if it makes it easier for you, go ahead and pin this all together. To make it easier, I am simply aligning the edge of the presser foot with the edge of my fabric. That is going to give me approximately 1/4 inch seam allowance. And don't forget, we're going to start and end each seam with a back stitch. On the other side, we're going to do exactly the same, but instead of starting at the top, we're actually going to start right at the point that we have marked, 6 centimeters or about 2.5 inches from the folded top. When done, this is what you're going to have. One side is going to feature a slit up top, the other one is going to be finished all the way to the top. Now we're going to turn this wrong side out. Take your time to turn out the corners, and before moving on to the next step, let's give it a really good press at the side seams. Now we're going to do a straight stitch again on both sides, about at 3/8 inch away from the edge of the fabric. If you're not confident about 3/8 inch, do ½ inch. Our point and our goal is to make sure that all of the raw edges of the inside of the seam are now going to be enclosed and all of the fraying edges are going to be invisible. On one side, we're going to do it top to bottom. On the other side, we are going to place a pin exactly where the stitches start, and we're gonna go from that point all the way to the bottom. When done, on the edge where we have sewn all the way to the top, we want to place it flat, and we want to stitch this edge of the seam down about 2 inches from the top, just with a straight stitch, and that is going to make it easier for the drawstring to go through. When you're done, on the right side of the project, it's going to look like this. At this point, we're going to turn it right side out, and you've guessed it right, we are going to give it another really good press. Now let's finish this opening. First, we're going to make 2 little cuts. Open the slit like this, and right here where the seam ends, I'm going to take my little scissors and I'm going to snip on one side all the way to the fold, and on the other side all the way to the fold. That is going to give us an opportunity to pop these open. Now we're going to snip it one more time, but only on one of the sides, so choose which side you want. I'm gonna go with this one, and I'm going to continue this snip, so just make it a straight line from the snip that we already made all the way to the folded edge, like this. Now place it down. First, we're going to do the side that we have snipped all the way through. That's this one for me. We are going to open the top part, fold it in once about 1/4 inch, and one more time by the same amount. And give it a good press to keep it all in place. The other side is going to go together with the seam allowance. So once again, open the top part, fold under about 1/4 inch and another 1/4 inch like this, and the seam allowance will want to go with it, and that's totally fine. That's what we want. Once again, give it a good press. At the sewing machine, we're going to start right over here. We're going to stitch down with a straight stitch all the way over here. We're going to bring these closer together, stitch across, pivot, and stitch back up. When you're getting closer to the bottom, start slowing down, then leave the needle inside of your project, lift up the presser foot, pivot the entire project, and make sure that you bring these 2 slits together so that way we can stitch across them, so that way it will secure it. Hold it with your fingers like I'm doing over here, lower the presser foot, and stitch across. Then leave the needle in, lift the presser foot, pivot the project one more time, lower the presser foot, and stitch back up. Now we need to finish up this area so that way it doesn't fray. First, we're going to go over this area with a straight stitch 2 more times. So starting from here, down and back up. When done, I'm going to stay right here at the sewing machine and select a really wide zigzag stitch that's also tighter than usual. That is going to give us a really nice coverage, and I'm going to go all the way from one side to the other exactly in the path of the straight stitch that we just did. As you can see, this really nicely covers all of the little raw edges and makes sure that they don't escape. The last step here is easy because we have already pre-pressed everything, so all we have to do is just fold everything down. You can secure it with a couple of pins just to make it a little bit easier for yourself. And then we're going to stitch this casing right over here from one end all the way to the other. Because we are going to be sewing through multiple fabrics, especially right here where the seams meet, I do suggest for you to opt for a longer stitch on your straight stitch. Once you have reached the bulky spot, go slow and steady, hand crank your sewing machine if need be, and if you do have a self-leveling presser foot, use the little spring detail in order to help you to get over it. The seam jumper will do exactly the same thing. From here, we're simply going to thread this tie through the opening. I have attached a safety pin over here to make it a little bit easier. Instead of tie, you can also use twill tape, or if you have a little piece of ribbon. Now, if you want to make your own, mine is made from the same fabric as the bag itself. It is about 2 1/4 inches wide and about 46 inches long. Then you simply place the ends like you see on the screen, bring them together, and sew on the edges. If you want an easier way how to make a drawstring bag, which then you can turn into a bread bag, then click on the video right over here. This is a much easier process, but it doesn't feature those beautiful French seams. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy, thoughtful sewing. I'll see you soon.